I am a phone repair genius. Okay, I might be sounding a little boastful, but once you fix a phone, the feeling, the high, how good you feel is incredible. This is no exaggeration. Now, in a previous video, I had two phones, both of which did not work. One broken screen and one presumably broken mainboard with a boot loop. I put the working screen on the working phone and I thought I was done. And it was great, it worked. But as an afterthought, I decided to put the broken screen on the broken mainboard, or what I thought was a broken mainboard, and found out that the screen worked, although the touch function was gone, so the screen was still broken. However, the battery drained properly and didn't have a boot loop anymore. Well, so I decided, you know what? It seems to be functioning other than the screen, which I know is broken. And so I decided to take a chance and order an aftermarket screen from eBay. You can get it without components or with the camera, touch button, speaker, etc. for only $32 Canadian. It was pretty cheap, so I decided to get one with all the components, make it much simpler. It came faster than expected. The only thing I had to do was do a home button swap first because the Touch ID is linked to that particular phone. So even if you have a new screen, you have to move your old home button in order to get your Touch ID to work. Now, I was joking about the package being on the slow boat from China, and it was on the fast boat because it got here in a couple weeks. So let's get this done. I just took the broken screen off first. As you can see, there's a split between the digitizer and the glass, and that's where it was broken. Now, in the package that came with the screen came the typical tools, a small screwdriver, pentalobe driver, that kind of thing. And it came in this nice plastic case, very protected, and with the plastic on the back and the front. The ribbon cables, they all look pretty good. Look like there are no issues going to be there. And there's the home button that I do have to replace. It's just 3 Phillips screws that are holding the home button in. Just make sure that any screws that you take out of the iPhone, that you put it down on a grid so you know exactly where they're going to go, because the screws are all different sizes. After that, just disconnect the ribbon cable, push the home button through from the opposite side, and it is kind of stuck down there, so you do have to give it a fairly good push to get the gasket up as well. And as you're settling that into place, there are some guides there to make sure the home button's in the proper spot. Then slide the home button bracket underneath the display and screw it in. Seat the ribbon cables back in, and just be careful with this. Just make sure you're not pressing too hard until you know you're in that right spot. This can be tricky, and when you're first doing this, you're not sure if you're in that right spot, and it can take a while. Then finally, reconnect the battery and test it before you close it completely. Attach the pentalobe screws back in. And in this case, this phone was missing some brackets and missing some screws and only had one pentalobe screw. And then, just peeling off that plastic. Oh yeah. And just getting that Touch ID set up just to see if it works. And yeah, it does. This is great. Now I'm going to be using this phone for about a week just to make sure everything's functioning properly. It was having some boot loop issues after all, and I just want to make sure it's working well before I actually put it up for sale. Now, after my tests, I realized, wow, this one actually works a little bit better than the one I originally fixed, which I thought was the one that works. The one that works actually has connection issues to the computer. It charges up fine, but it does not connect to most of my computers, which is really weird. I decided to use it for about 12 hours each day and just see what the battery life was like after that. And the battery discharge was better than the other phone, and there was no more boot loop, and it really just functioned totally normally. I don't know what happened. The only thing I can think of was that when it was dropped, maybe some of the connections weren't solid. The cover plates and some screws were missing, giving the potential for some movement of the ribbon cables, and just taking the screen off and putting it back on maybe put it back into place. So Well, anyway, after testing it for a week, now I realized, you know what, I can sell this one on eBay, but I am going to be upfront that the screen isn't original and that there were issues, but they seem to have been resolved now. Buyer beware, but I do believe this is now fixed. Some may ask, what's the quality of a $32 screen anyway? And I'd say it's just great. I mean, what do you want out of it? You want it to work when you touch it and be accurate when you touch it, and this definitely works really, really well. You want reasonable resolution out of it. I mean, this screen is only 4.7 inches. I mean, really, you don't need super high resolution, refresh rate, or anything like that on a screen like this. The front-facing camera, again, works just fine. Most of the time they're never as good as the back-facing camera, and in this case it's same as true. I didn't notice any appreciable difference compared to the original phone. So in the end, I got really, really lucky in that I have two completely working phones when I thought I just had the one. And because they're so similar, I just had to make sure I labeled them so I knew the difference between which one was which when I am ready to sell them. Now for the joke of the day. I ate a clock yesterday. It was so time consuming. Well, thanks for watching me getting really lucky on this one, and I hope to see you in the next Ladybug adventure.